Hello and welcome to News from the Real World. We're here to talk about some articles that we've read from the cmuptm.blogspot.com blog. So today we're going to start off this conversation about from Inc.com by Ilan Machari, talking about 2 reasons to revamp the question and answer to what do you do? So he's talking about how we are constantly asked this question by people at get-togethers, any kind of time, place we might meet someone, but also by family and friends all the time. And as theater artists and people that may sometimes have a sort of very general, odd thing that we do, it's kind of like a question that is hard to answer sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's hard to answer, and also sometimes the answer, I think, for us is not indicative of who we are, which was one of the big things that this addresses. So it's like, well, right now the thing that I do might be, doing deck crew, which is not the part of theater that I love, or whatever. So
but it's paying the bills right now.
Exactly. So that's what I do, but that's not who I am, which I think was an interesting thing that this addressed for me.
I agree. And I mean, as a sort of person who does like a lot of random freelance stuff, I actually feel a lot like the guy who was writing this article, talking about all the different things that he does. CC Chapman, I think, is the name of the guy that they're kind of focusing on. And he's a writer, he's a producer, he just makes content for various things. And that's kind of what I do as well. And I find I sort of pick one of those that is addressing whatever that particular person I'm talking to is, which is kind of what he says he does. He says, I do a lot of different things, but I focus on this, and then kind of gets that across. And I think that's kind of the gist of this article, and I find that pretty straightforward and valuable.
Yeah, me too. It's like, sure, come up with like your tagline that feels good, like a good way to explain this to someone who maybe doesn't need your whole life story, but something that feels sort of indicative of what about your work is interesting to you.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
And it kind of works into stuff that we've been talking about in our professional practice class about elevator pitches and just like a unique sales proposition. Proposition. Where
a unique preposition.
Like the. Is that a preposition?
I don't think so. We're going to cut that out.
I'm not going to cut anything out. I would say it's very similar to like a sales pitch or an elevator pitch, where you are trying to communicate very succinctly this thing that's really important to get across. And it's kind of the same way when you want to introduce yourself and put your best foot forward, be memorable. I mean, chances are like this is talking about just being like social and how people hate that question. But I think it's because you feel like you're selling yourself in that moment when you have to say that. People judge you automatically.
Exactly. I think it's the judgment that they're hitting on, because it's like, well, this isn't who I am, this is what I do. Or this isn't all of me, this is what I do. I'm just paying the bills.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
I'm
a child of the universe.
I'm a dancer on the wind.
Yeah. The wind of the demon's whisper. That's exactly right.
All right, so I like this next article is actually kind of in a sort of similar vein. If the advertisement, why does every blog open an advertisement of some kind?
They know they've got your captive audience.
they know that I'm trying to do a podcast.
We should roll a bunch of ads right now, like in the podcast.
Okay, that's a great idea.
I know.
Imagine there's ads rolling right now.
Imagine.
Okay,
we don't have time.
This is from the remodeling blog. The article is titled "How to Be a Nice Hard Ass," and I think about this a lot because I think that
because you love working out. Isn't that?
Oh, is that what it was about?
I didn't actually. What was this about? Just kidding. I read them all.
Oh, good. So this is about being able to convey what you need to without sounding like a jerk when you're managing people.
And it was also it was about ways to do that, to make your workforce feel empowered and to respect you, but also to not be super sad all the time. Because I think that can be really tough. I think we've all probably had both kinds of bosses. The ones who they really they push you to get a lot done, and you walk away like, that guy was such a dick. And then they push you to get a lot done, and you're like, they're awesome, and I want to work even harder.
Right.
And so I think it's about tapping into ways to do the latter.
Yeah,
to
how
sort
do you
of
inspire them to do it,
Right.
to push your employees?
Yeah.
I mean, I really, honestly, this article has a provocative title that'll make people want to read it. But
Right.
really, it is essentially how to be a good manager.
Right. Yeah. And how to it laid out some very clear ways that you could do that. Setting your expectations, being specific about exactly what you want done and by when you want it done. So I think it was just basically being upfront and direct with the people you're working with and not being a jerk about it.
Exactly. And I mean, there are some good tips in there when things start to get heated. How do you approach it without,
Right.
without causing more problems? It's like
Yeah.
remove the emotion from the situation.
Right.
It's not about like, good or bad or like this
Right.
person's an idiot or a jerk. It's
Right.
like they didn't do this right.
Right. Focus on the project itself,
Exactly.
on what went wrong, what went right, and how we fix this, not how to fix you.
Right.
So it's not about you being terrible, it's about this specific thing being a little bit terrible and how we can fix that.
Yeah.
That seemed like an effective way probably that would get through to me.
Mhm.
Like, well, I made a mistake, I can fix this, not I'm a terrible person. Because I feel like that would lead you to sort of shut down.
Exactly, and it feeds into the same idea of when you need to call somebody out for something like racist or sexist or anything like that.
Right.
It doesn't mean that they are a racist or a sexist. They did
Right.
something
Yeah.
that is that.
Yeah.
But and this is like all of that sort of ties together into addressing the problem, not the like macrocosmic like you suck.
Right, yeah, right. Which I think in general would lead you to either be really defensive or just completely shut down.
Yep.
Where this is sort of like,
And it does not let things
that.
move forward.
Right, yeah. If the point is creating good work or working together well. don't-
Fearless feedback.
Yeah, don't be a jerk about it. Don't.
So the next article I have here is a user's guide to standing while you work.
Yes.
Some people like to whistle while they
Stand
work.
up.
Other people like to stand while they work.
Yeah.
Let's stand up for this one.
I
So-
feel like this is really working.
Yeah, are you feeling more productive already?
I'm feeling, well, the article said 1 to 2 minutes, so I guess we'll just stand here
Okay.
and see.
And then maybe we should like move around at some point because I mean I assume that it said to stand for we're doing like a robot walk.
I'm just like showing them what movement looks like in case they're not familiar with it.
So you want to like there were some helpful diagrams in this about how to elevate your computer and things like that. There's all sorts of actually practical information about this. So okay, stand up every 20 minutes.
Is it done?
No, I think this is the appropriate way to approach
Okay,
this
this is
article.
great. All right, great. Stand up every 20 minutes.
Every 20 minutes, and that is going to prevent physiological harm
Right.
to your body.
Yeah, risk of diabetes and heart disease, they said specifically.
Increases
Yeah.
the longer that you are sedentary at your job. And the thing that was most terrifying about this is even if you're a very active person
Yeah.
outside of work, like you go and work out,
Yeah.
whatever kind of aerobic exercise you do,
Yeah.
it's completely discounted by your like hours and hours of sitting at a desk at work.
You can be the $1 million man and you will still get diabetes if you don't stand up.
So stand up every 20 minutes. Do other things. I mean, the more you move around, the better,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much. So if some people take a walk. There was actually a business they mentioned in here, which sounds like these guys are getting away with murder in this business. What's it? Buffer is some sort of like online startup sort of situation.
Right.
But they have this thing called workstation popcorn, where
Right.
they work at different places throughout the day. And
Yeah.
it's not just within their like building or
Right, it was
within
like
their
coffee
office.
shops.
They like go walk somewhere else, work
Right.
there for a couple hours,
Go
go
to the
walk somewhere
airport.
else, get on a plane,
Right.
go to Denmark
Right.
where something is rotten there.
Sit. Maybe.
Maybe that might have
They
been
took
a long
care of
time
that.
ago. Oh.
Yeah. I don't think it's running anymore. But I could be wrong. I'm not an expert.
Okay, well I feel pretty productive.
I
think
feel
we should move
so
on.
productive. Yeah, let's move on to the next. Oh man,
We're gonna
I'm
attack
like
this one like it's
ready to go.
really easy.
Yeah, it is. I
Okay,
feel good. Oh yeah, this is one of my faves.
here we go. All right,
Because I'm a child.
this article is called "Let It Rip."
And it's exactly what you're thinking, probably.
It is actually probably.
Yeah.
When fart jokes were comedy's last taboo.
Yeah, I thought that this was really interesting that they were combined. Well, they take you through a history of fart jokes and when they were and were not sort of accepted in media in general. So I guess in film, in print, and
Yeah, entertainment. I would say.
yeah, in entertainment, in books, in comedy. It was funny to hear them go through eras when fart jokes were taboo, but you could talk about like sex and violence.
Mhm.
That was really that was
I mean,
crazy. Like,
the modern era is very much like that.
I guess so. Like, don't talk about poop. But yeah,
Don't talk about
I could
poop.
cut your head off right now, and they'd be like, "Oh, is that?"
I feel like that was
special
pretty normal
That was
to
cool.
see in like a news reel or
That
something
was-
like that.
that
I mean,
was
the things that
normal.
you can't do are talk about poop or,
Right.
or like bodily functions.
Right.
Anything bodily is like kind of
Yeah.
even saying the word penis or something like that.
No.
Penis is like kind of funny. Vagina, you never hear.
Vagina's disgusting. That's not really what I think. But yeah, you can't say that. That's
Can't
like
say that,
the
and
worst.
then like
Yeah.
female sexuality, that's another big taboo.
No way.
But farting,
I don't
apparently.
think that exists though. Like that's one of
Oh,
those
that's
myths.
not allowed.
I think so. I'm not totally
Maybe that's
sure.
why we never see it.
Right. I'm only 26, but so far I've never seen it in real life. It's like the Loch Ness monster.
So, and then there's, for like, when did farts become acceptable?
Right. Well, and it was funny because they talked about it being acceptable in the 1890s briefly
Mhm.
with that guy. I wrote his name down because it's amazing. Wait, where is it? No.
He was a French baker.
No, you know what?
Joseph Pujol.
It was Joseph Pujol. I'm thinking about the one in 1722. The essay
Oh, yes.
called "The Benefit of Farting Explained" by Don Fartenhando Puffendorst. Like that's amazing.
That is an amazing name.
And
And
then-
they think that it was Pope. No, was it Pope? Who was it?
It was like some fancy.
Swift.
Yeah,
Swift is
Swift,
thought
under
to be
pseudonym.
the
Yeah.
author of that,
That's
which makes
the
sense to
best.
me.
Yeah, that's Swift. Pun intended. Yeah, it was interesting seeing that like in 1722 it was totally fine. Then the Victorians took it away.
Mhm.
Briefly in the 1890s, totally fine.
Totally okay.
They said that Freud and Prince of Wales loved fart jokes.
Yeah, they would go watch that Pujol guy who
Yeah.
could make all kinds of farts. Like, I mean, he
With-
did more than just farting with his butt.
Yeah.
Look
I would
him
say
up,
it really
'cause I bet it's
elevated
probably-
the art of butt tricks. in
Fart
general.
musicals.
Fart, that's right.
Okay.
He's done a lot for this craft, and that's our point.
There was one thing that was
Farts
really
are
odd
fun.
about this article that
Yeah.
kind of threw me off very quickly. I just want to mention it because it didn't make any sense to me. They've been talking about that Pujol guy whose stage name was Le Pentomane, which I'm not sure what that means
It's probably
in French.
very funny.
I bet it
if
is.
you're smart.
And he says in his heyday would outgrow Sarah Bernhardt. Sarah Bernhardt was considered to be one of the greatest actresses of all time.
Yeah,
And I don't understand, she didn't do anything gross.
I didn't understand that reference
I
either. There's
think
probably
he-
something very specific. Maybe it's like.
I think he made a
misnomer.
mistake.
Yeah,
I
maybe.
think he chose the wrong person.
That
So
could be.
Sarah Bernhardt, not gross. Okay, let's tell a joke that they mentioned in the article.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm
so
ready.
this is one of those Confucius jokes, so it's kind of offensive because, it's a joke about Confucius, but
Right. But you're gonna love
the
it.
old joke is Confucius say, man who fart in church must sit in his own pew. Get it? It's a pun.
Do you guys get it? Because pew in a church. I think that that's a great place to leave this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us for this part one of the podcast, and we'll see you back for part two.
I can't wait.